Welcome to Across the Desk. I got something special in store as we did an interview with Representative Collin Walke. Now, it went a bit longer than I like to do for a normal episode, about twice as long. So, what did I do? I split it up into two shows. So, this will be part one of a two-part series of an interview we did with Representative Collin Walke. And first up, we talk about his House bill that's going through the works, probably get turned into law, on our internet data and its security. Hey Collin, thanks for coming on the show today and talking to us about a few things that are going on with the legislature. One of the things is we want to talk about real quick. I noticed that you've been talking with other places and people about the legislation you have on internet privacy. Can you explain to us a little bit about what that is and why that's important to people in Oklahoma?
So HB 1602 is the Oklahoma Data Privacy Act, and it's co-authored by the majority leader for the Republicans, Josh West, as well as about 40 plus other Democrats and Republicans between the House and the Senate. The reason, let's start first with what this bill does. So what this bill does is enables an individual to ask companies who collect data, what data do you have on me? Second, it allows individuals to say, whatever data you have on me, delete it. Third, it has what's called a right to be forgotten, which is anyone else you've given this data to, please make sure that they delete it. And then fourth, and this is what makes this law unique, it would be the first type of law in this country. And it makes it so that going forward, if tech companies want to track your data, they have to do so if and only if you give consent. So right now, if you take your phone and you go anywhere and you get on the internet, they know where you are, they know what you're looking at, and they know what locations are around you. So they may send you an ad for a coffee shop nearby, right? And so all of the other laws that tackle data privacy like this, for example, the California Consumer Protection Act, the CCPA, it's opt-out. Well, the problem with opt-out is it doesn't help you to know whether or not you've given consent to somebody to track your data, because once they've tracked it, they can buy and sell and give it to whomever they want. So for example, one tech company in America has 1,500 data points on more than 200 million Americans. That's half of our population. Even scarier is there's a company called Idenia, which contracts with the state of Oklahoma. And if you've ever downloaded the Oklahoma Mobile Driver's License Testing app on your phone, you are one of 3 billion people for whom Idenia has biometric data information. And this is the reason why this bill is so important, is because it's the Wild West right now. So if you've ever gone to Disneyland, for example, Disney World not only knows your name, your occupation, your wife's name, her occupation, but the children as well. And they share that information with Honda and other companies. And so you have no idea at this stage who has your information and who doesn't. And that's the beauty of this bill, is that this is something that Democrats and Republicans both love, because we are guaranteed a right to privacy under the Fourth Amendment. So the only people that are really fighting this bill right now are big tech companies. People who realize if we do opt-in versus opt-out, that's going to cut into the amount of data we have to buy, sell, and otherwise analyze. Oh, yeah. And so that's kind of the gist of the bill and kind of the basic reasoning behind it.
So this doesn't have any relation to Standridge's bill, where he wants to actually fine internet companies up to, or at least minimum of $75,000 for censorship or anything like that, does it? It's not related, right?
No, it's not related, but in a way it accomplishes what Standridge wants, right? Because you know this, when you go onto Facebook, the people who see your posts are whoever the algorithm already determines is going to see that post. And that's based off of the data that they have, right? Who your friends are, all those sorts of things. So we're already being censored. The Republicans aren't going to see your show, and you're not going to see Rush Limbaugh pop up in your newsfeed.
No, it doesn't.
So everyone's already being censored by virtue of this data manipulation.
Yeah, you're right. It does. You're right. It does, doesn't it? That does make a lot of sense, because that's exactly how they're using our data to target us. And also that's another conservative argument, is that this targeting of data also divides us more. It puts us in our own camps, and we're only seeing the news and information that we want to align with. We're not really being tested.
I would contend, and I say this without any sense of irony or insincerity. I think the number one issue facing this country today is data privacy. For example, people who buy Pokemon Go, the game, most people don't realize the history behind that. It started out as Google Glass. Everybody remembers Google Glass, which is where you put on the glasses, connect to the internet, see everything, right? Yeah. Well, everybody looked like an idiot wearing it. So what happened is Google put that software inside Pokemon Go. And so what they would do is they would say, will Mr. Fairchild knock on Collin Walke's door for a reward? They were seeing if they could manipulate you and what you would do. That's all they were doing. Reddit has even done, I think it was Reddit, has even done the same sort of thing where they put up a particular program just to see if people would participate. And all they were doing was testing individuals to see how far they could push them. And this dates back to Stanford. Stanford, back in the 2000s and late 90s, was the, and may still be, the go-to place for technology. Well, in one of the ethics classes there, the professor, his final project for the semester was to determine could you make a program, how devious of a program can you make? How easily can you manipulate somebody? And the reason he was asking students to do this wasn't because he wanted people to do that, but because so that they would realize the power that they had through data and data analytics. So this is a long time coming, and we're being manipulated without our own knowledge. And I think this is the number one issue facing the country today, which is why you're seeing Virginia, New York, Washington, Texas, everybody starting to come up with their own legislation because the Fed sure as hell ain't going to do it.
Oh, yeah. And I bet also with conservatives being so concerned about censorship right now from big tech, this might make it actually easier to find consensus with them on something like this, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And that's why we've got 40 plus co-authors between the House and the Senate. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So this bill actually looks really good to going through and getting into law. Is that?
Yeah, it does. That's not to say that big tech isn't out here lobbying the heck out of it and trying to defeat it, which, hey, you know what? They've got a job to do, and I understand and I appreciate the fact that it will cost profits. Yeah. And the reason is because they built up an industry around something that wasn't theirs in the first place. They built it up around our data.
Yeah, that's exactly the biggest thing of Facebook. That's how they make all their money, pretty much, is from your data. I mean, it really is.
We are the product.
Who your family is, where you live, and everything else, and how they can market to you, or actually market to their people.
Yeah, and the thing is it's not just names, addresses, and those sorts of things, because we'd all be like, well, you can get that from the phone book, right? Yeah. But it's also they buy and sell lists of rape survivors. They buy and sell lists of alcoholics. Right. This is all about the dollar. Yeah. And that's a shame.
Yeah, it is. And it's so unfeeling. I mean, they got an algorithm there that's just, putting stuff out to people that some people don't really need some of this. and it's just an unfeeling algorithm that they're doing this with. And you're right. They're just doing it to make money regardless of any consequence.
And to your point about the unfeeling algorithm, I don't know if you've looked into this, but there's 2 points on that. One was a news story that came out just yesterday, and it was a European country. I apologize, I forget which one. But they had an algorithm that was in place that would automatically kick social benefit recipients off of rolls for alleged fraud and those sorts of things. Well, it turns out that the algorithm was wrong. And what they're finding also today is that in artificial intelligence, facial recognition, there's implicit bias. And this is a scientific fact. This isn't like some sort of liberal woo-woo wackadoo sort of stuff. This is the truth. And you can talk to any computer scientist out there and they will tell you that yes, facial recognition technology through AI is biased. They cannot detect African Americans and people of color as well as Caucasians and white people.
Well, is there a reason why that is, or is it just how they developed it, or can they fix it?
Yeah. So obviously I'm not a tech expert, but this is what I have been told, and there's probably more to the story, but this is what I've been told, which is your algorithm is only as good as the people putting it in, right? The input. And so if the input is biased, implicit or otherwise, the output's going to be biased. And so, for example, Elon Musk, his goal for self-driving vehicles, this is really kind of cool. His goal is because any input from you as the driver is presumed to be error. His point is anything you have to do is error. Just like when you're designing that code and that algorithm, if you have to do that, you're going to get an error. So let the computer take care of everything, including driving you, which is a good point and an interesting argument. It's just a question of how good that algorithm is.
Now, does this sounds similar to another piece of legislation I read about? Something about, what do they call that? A box? Some kind of, what is that called? The data box or something like that? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I was reading through something, and there's another. I don't know how far it's going to get, but there's something about a data box, or I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to look it up. And
check that out. Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen several of these internet bills come up on the state level.
Yeah.
And yours.
Well,
did you author this one, by the way? Is this something you authored? Or?
Yeah, this is my bill. We did an interim study on this, myself and Representative Josh West. It's his bill as well. It's bipartisan. We did an interim study in September, and we actually brought in Roger McNamee, who's the author of Zucked, and was an early advisor to Sheryl Sandberg and Mark Zuckerberg. We brought him in because his book was the one that got this bill started. Because when I read that, and I read about Cambridge Analytica, and all of the scandals, not just for that. I mean, I can talk to you about Verizon being fined by the FTC. I can talk to you about TVs. You go buy a TV and you install it, and it's got voice recognition and activity. Guess what? They're listening to you. And companies have been fined for listening to you, even though they say that they're not. That's a true story. I can get you the FTC fine history on it, right? These people are bad actors.
Oh yeah.
And it's got to be stopped.
The Amazon Fire TV. I got one of those. Voice command, run it through your Alexa, which always listens to you, by the way.
And here's the thing: is that most people have been told and or believe that when it's listening to you, that means it's just the computer. Here's the sad part. The sad part is not just the computer. Because as we talked about earlier, the algorithms are only as good as the people who make them, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm having this conversation with you and I say the car is red, somebody on the back end of Alexa isn't going to care about that because there's nothing unique about it. So they don't need, for quality control purposes, to determine whether or not I said the car is red is correct based off of what Alexa heard. But if I said, Mr. Fairchild lives at such and such address in Oklahoma City down the street, those unique identifiers, quality control wants to pick up and listen to because they want to know that the algorithm got it right. So there is a human being really listening to the more unique aspects of your conversation.
I hope you enjoyed the interview we did with Representative Collin Walke. Next week, we continue part 2 of our interview, where we discuss the Oklahoma Democratic Party and their Oklahoma Focus Plan, what that is, and exactly what Representative Collin Walke has to do with it, when we see you next week.